Hello guys and welcome to Showtime TV, and this is the Mental Health Awareness Show with me Washirage Konyo. We had gone on a short break, but now we are back bigger and better, and of course kama kawaida we have our guest today. We have Dubs Africa, and of course we have the Kiambati Foundation Group who have decided to join us today so that we talk about the stigmatization of mental health. And before we go into the topic, let us have them introducing themselves. Of course, we have Victor. Kama kawaida, it's always nice to see you. We are going to sit with Victor right here, but then we also have the members of the Kiambati Group, Foundation Group, who are also going to come in with their questions, with their contribution on the topic. But Victor, tuambie umekuaje?
Nimekuwa poa. Umekuaje?
Mimi nimekuwa fiti, long time no see.
Long time. Hey,
I don't know, but I know the break was for the better because we had other things. We had to kushughulikia hapa hivi na pale, but we are glad we're back, and of course our audience, you've been awesome. So today we are going to talk about the stigmatization of mental health. So Victor, tuambie kwanza, before we even go into the topic, tell us what is mental health. Maybe tukumbushe kidogo what mental health is all about.
Mental health, okay, basically is the ability to be without any emotional distress. You're able to cope with life challenges like normally, and you don't have any, not say disability, you have the ability to cope with any disabilities or illnesses or anything in a healthy way.
Yes.
Yeah, so and you'll form healthy relationships with people and everyone around yourself and the environment, and that's all about mental health. So everything that contradicts with that is a mental illness or a mental health disorder.
Okay, all right. So many a times are those time. Okay, not many a times. There are those times where we have people who have suffered from mental health issues. For example, anxiety, right? We have depression. We have, what did you call it? OCD, exactly. And of course, we have other bipolar. So our topic today basically is all about how do we stop stigmatization of mental health. Somebody is probably suffering from depression. Maybe this person is discriminated in the society. So maybe our first topic discussion is maybe what are some of the stigmas surrounding mental health?
Stigmas surrounding mental health, they basically everything. Because the problem about mental health, it's the problem about the stigma comes around when people don't actually understand what mental illness is and what mental health contains. So you find like the moment there was this story of another lady who stabbed the kid, and the media portrayed like that was crime.
Yes.
But then that was a mental health illness.
Yes, sure.
It was a mental illness. So like that stigma in itself, stigma can be portrayed in the easiest forms possible. The way you talk to a person who is mentally not okay, the way you talk to them, the way you address them, the way you call out to a person. You might tell maybe a person has schizophrenia, but tukunje tunamuita yeye ni chizi.
Well, explain what that is. Kuna jina umesema hapo, and
schizophrenia is it's a mental illness just like depression and anxiety, but is portrayed by someone who is doing things, nitasemaje, yes, sitaki kusema ni cheesy, but this person was okay, was fine, but then he starts doing things like, ushaona an example ya kulikuwa na history fulani ya a woman who was so into church. Alikuwa naomba sana, hakuwa naomba sana kitambo, and then all of a sudden akaanza kuomba like literally, and anaenda sijui anaoga kichwa sijui anafanya nini. Like those are like simple signs of schizophrenia, because siwezi sema schizophrenia is a diagnosis. It's not like something that you can see from a person. So unapatanga wase huko nje, they are like hiyo ni kuchizi, but this person is actually has a disease.
Yes.
Just like homa ama pneumonia, that's like a disease and it's treatable.
Sure.
And another form of stigma is people saying that mental illness is not treatable, saying that you shouldn't go for treatment, you shouldn't go for therapy. Ama unapata msana kuuliza, unataka kuona psychologist? Kwani ujiwezi ama akili yako?
Somebody anafikiri ulishachizi kitambo. Well, those are some of the negative feelings associated with you feel some type of way about somebody who has mental health, somebody who has depression. You feel this person is a mad person. So maybe we can move on to our audience, maybe to the next question. What are the effects of mental stigmatization? When you stigmatize a person, maybe you can have one member from the Kiambati Foundation group. I'm going to pass the microphone, and I think you're going to have Joe. Yes, karibu sana Joe. Introduce yourself, and of course tell us what are the effects of mental stigmatization.
Thank you very much. I'm Joe Kiambati, the CEO and the founder of Kiambati Foundation. So one of the effects of mental stigmatization is that one is reluctant to seek medical attention because you umeiweka ndani yako that I have a problem.
Yeah.
So you already stigmatized that you cannot seek medical attention from medics.
Yes.
Another effect is that it leads to discrimination or rejection from the family, because once your family members wanaona this guy hazirudi form ako ni mbaya, unaona,
exactly.
So they reject you, trying to mean that wanakurusha nje, unaona. So it's an effect.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. Thank you so much for that. Then of course we have also other things like low self-esteem. So for example, if I'm suffering from stigmatization, somebody is stigmatizing me because I have anxiety, and some of the effects of anxiety, I think it's biting your fingers. Especially when for example for me, when I have a lot of anxiety, when anxiety is fear of the unknown, right? So when I have a lot of anxiety, I normally bite my fingers a lot, and I tell people that if somebody will be like, Eva, why are you biting your fingers? I'm like, it's because I have anxiety. So sometimes you'll find somebody looking at you like, that is so weird. Oh, you have a deficiency of something. So sometimes it brings me low. Gives me low self-esteem. So if I'm a person who is suffering from stigmatization, maybe I have low self-esteem, how am I supposed to deal with my low self-esteem that comes about with being stigmatized because of my condition of having mental health? Maybe we can have another person from Dabs Africa. Karibu sana.
Hi, thank you. My name is Ezra from Dabs Africa.
Any move this side?
Yes, anxiety has a lot of anxiety comes in as you have said, biting a lot of fingers and fidgeting, tapping your legs, and it's a mental health disorder too. It's one of the disorders, and anxiety can affect us in real life in terms of socializing, interacting with other people, and itself it should not come as a form of discrimination. We should understand that anxiety can come because of personality disorders. Maybe this is one of your personality, and facing other people can be difficult, especially for introverts.
Yeah.
So these introverts at some point feel the social anxiety, and at times it's difficult to deal with the society. Yeah, so I don't think there should be any form of discrimination when it comes to anxiety.
Okay. All right. So, of course we know that it's not just about anxiety. Sometimes we have some things that can lead to mental health issues, such as drug abuse. We have depression is one of them, right? Yes. So what do you think about that? Somebody has gotten like some mental health because they took a lot of marijuana or cocaine. So how should the society approach such people?
Actually, we don't call it drug abuse nowadays.
Substance abuse.
We call it substance use disorder.
Okay. Oh wow, it's not drug abuse.
So it's not drug abuse. Drug abuse. Actually, there was a debate on some other day. So it was a debate actually, and they were saying it was an international debate. They were saying drug abuse itself is stigma. It's actually
really?
Because yes, you can call it drug abuse if someone decided, but the probability that according to research, most of the people who actually use drugs, it's because they have an underlying condition. Given that there is the majority of the people who have those conditions, actually saying drug abuse is stigma to all those people, and yet it's not by will. Some of them is because of the pressures. So it's substance use disorder. So
okay, but of course it's not just about some underlying issue. Sometimes it might be because of influence.
Yeah.
Is that an underlying issue, or is it like an external factor?
those are external factors.
Okay.
But you know, mental illnesses can lead to substance use disorders, and substance use disorders can lead to mental illnesses. So an example, if I'm Victor, I'm quite I'm a well-behaved guy, I don't take drugs, and all of a sudden I'm influenced by my friends to go and use drugs. So it can get to a time where I'm too deep and I can't, it's so hard to get out of that. So that will now be the aftermath of me using drugs. I'll have a mental illness. So it's like a pivot. One leads to the other.
Okay.
It's a balance. So so that's why I believe there was that debate, and I actually support drug abuse. Is actually the fact that it's abuse. It's a stigma itself. Actually.
Oh wow. Okay.
I don't know.
Apologies.
I don't know about everyone else, but to me, I actually support the fact that, and stigma is a violation of human right. That's the first thing that I was wajue.
Yes.
Because mental health is a universal human right. Just like food, just like shelter, it's a basic human right.
Yeah.
And it's actually an article in the Constitution, and it's taken as seriously as physical health, because there was, according to my own research, we say like mental health is important just like physical health, but sometimes I say mental health is actually a little bit more important than physical health. Having been part of the healthcare society, ama being involved in a lot of healthcare, you find that a lot of illnesses, say kutumia the word that they in our heads, but there is an aftermath of being mentally ill. Yes, there are illnesses which are okay, but if you go to most of the wards, it's so astonishing that there are these drugs called placebos, and the doctor says we can just administer a placebo and this person will be okay, because it's not actually a real condition. It's a disorder this person has.
All right.
So mental health is actually so important that, and a point that I would love everyone to get today is that mental health is a universal human right. And it's so sad that very many people don't understand. And I'll say what I said on Wednesday, that stigma is a violation of human right and should be taken as seriously as other violation of human rights like rape, like all other criminal activities, because mental disorders are being taken like they are criminal activities, whereas they are not.
Alright, and then like, some other people will be like taking it lightly. Aki, nasikia niko na depression. You know, like when you say that word, someone else is actually a really serious thing. But somebody just gets a little bit stressed and then you're like, oh, niko na depression. But you don't really understand what it is about. So I think there should be a lot of education when it comes to mental health, so that people stop taking these terms lightly, right? So we have now we know that the kids are already, closed school, and you have from the younger ones to the teenagers. So we as parents out there, how are they supposed to deal with the mental health of their children?
What do you mean? Like mental health of
how okay, for example, how are we able to know that our children are undergoing mental health? Let's start from kids, maybe from below 5 years or from below 10 years, because those are the ones in school. So how are you able to know that a child is actually going through some mental health? Are they different from grown-ups?
Actually, the way someone responds to the stress, we all are different humans, and we respond differently to different stimuli. So what happens is, you know your child. As a parent, you're supposed to know your child. So if you see any deviation in the way your child normally is, and the way they react to situations, some can become overly laid back, silent, others can become very excited, I'm arrogant, and you know my child is not usually this excited.
Yeah.
And
Excitement is also another sign of okay.
You can, you know, it's usually an aftermath. You're trying to get away from something, so it's the physical presentation. Just like the way there is something going on in your head and you have a fever. So we all present differently. So you can have a very laid back child that's their normal. But then you see all of a sudden they start being so excited. So yeah, you just see the opposite. If it affects actually everything. Your child can be a very happy child and then they overly become starting get sad. The relationship with her friends or their friends, actually that's one is the biggest. If you know your child children are supposed to be playful, and all of a sudden anataka tu kukaa kwa nyumba ama anataka tu anataka kukaa na wewe sana, and that was not normal. So like those are the simple things you should actually get, because it's the simple things actually means the biggest. Actually the smallest things are usually have the biggest presentations inside, because they are trying to hide it, definitely, but then there is this thing that they can't control. Either they don't want to be with those friends, or they want just to be on their own.
All right, so of course we know there are people like introverts, so you have to differentiate between if your child is an introvert or if your child is undergoing through some sort of mental disorder. Now, because we've talked about children playing together, because you know the children are always together playing around, but then probably have this case of my son being bullied by other kids and all that, but then still as a parent I want them to interact with other kids. So how am I able to control such a behavior from other kids? Do I go and warn them? Should I keep my kid away from them? Or how are we supposed to address such kind of issues when it comes to like a group of kids? You still want your kid not to have so much screen time, but then out there they undergoing this kind of discrimination because maybe they are having some sort of behavior. Maybe you can advise parents there, and also you can also advise parents there on how to, you know, look out for mental health issues when it comes to teenagers, because I'm pretty sure teenagers will behave differently from kids. So maybe you can have Joe from Kiambati Foundation Group.
Thank you very much. There's something that we call chubbiness. There are those people who are jumpy. Yeah, there are kids who are jumpy. And you may think that they have a mental disorder, but let me tell you, there are people when they are at home, they are not that much talkative. But when they come out here, maybe there are guidelines at home, but here out, they are jumpy. Meaning that when they are at home, they are discriminated. You know, their parents take them like wamenyamaza, they think they are right, but it's not right, because we know your attitudes and behaviors when you are out of guidelines. So what I can advise parents now that
2 months break.
2 months. Hey,
2 months, 2 weeks.
Allow your sons, daughters to move out there. Give them time to enjoy, because the more they have fun, the more they execute, and the more wanaendelea kutoa the stress, vitu zenye unajua mental health, stress causes mental health. That is one thing. So the moment you allow them, usiwafungie, don't allow them, let them move, have fun, and think that so mental health. Don't discriminate them. Don't tell them hapana usiende huku. Give them free time.
Right. Okay, thank you. So maybe you have something to say?
Yes, I have something to add. How else can you know a child is going through mental health? Another thing is, if they were not bedwetting before and they start bedwetting eventually, and they do it excessively, you know that they are facing a fear and there's something they're not disclosing. So giving them exposure, as Joe has said, is very important. Expose them to these environments that they are afraid of, or maybe their social well-being is being distracted. Teach them how to relate with others. Show them how important it is to have friends and play around. Yes, that is what I could add.
Okay. All right. So parents parents out there, we know that our children will be there for 2 months and 2 weeks, and of course we know that with this in these hard economic times, we know that our kids will need electricity, our kids will need food, our kids will also need so much attention. So as a parent, you've not been used to this for the last few months, and now you have to work. So how are you able to stay sober as a parent? So it's good that we also have mental health awareness. Please keep watching these programs. We'll be having them every Saturday with Dubs Africa, and of course you also be having the Kembati Foundation group joining us on other Saturdays. So guys, keep it locked to Showtime TV, and don't forget that your mental wellness is very, very important. It's good that we stop stigmatizing mental health, because it is an issue that needs to be given very close attention. So maybe we can move on to the next question about the stigmatization of mental health, and maybe you can tell us what are the keys to destigmatization of destigmatizing mental health. What are we supposed to do to stop destigmatizing mental health? Should we have open dialogues? Should we lock ourselves in our rooms? Should we avoid those people who are destigmatizing us? What should I do if I am a person who is going through this stigmatization of mental health?
Okay, so I think you're saying about what we can do to destigmatize the mental health. So I think it's all about knowing facts, having facts about mental health. The problem is most of us have misconceptions and myths in our heads, and we think that we know everything about mental health, and it's so sad that even medics and the people you expect actually, and teachers, the people you expect to know about mental health, they actually have 0.1% of the knowledge they are required to have on mental health. And it's so funny because I remember when it was in high school, there was this teacher who used to tell us, when you're doing teaching, you're taught about psychology and this and this and this, and currently I'm not a psychologist, I'm just a mental health advocate, and I'm like, I wish I can meet that teacher over again and tell them they were actually wrong about everything.
Yeah.
Because that is the biggest form of stigma, given that our kids most of the time they are in schools, because labda aliendanga boarding school akwa class 4 tokea kwa class 8, and then went to a public to a boarding high school from class 8 to form 4. The biggest time it's when they are with their teachers. And with their peers and everyone. I believe schools should be highly equipped with the teachers should be highly equipped with knowledge and facts about mental health, because actually it is in schools where most of the mental health illnesses are in. Because if you look at statistics, let me go to campuses. There was, in the last, I guess it was 4 months countrywide, there were a total of 423 suicide cases. So, and it was actually 57%, they were actually university students, most of them. And not university.
What were some of the issues that were, the causes? Maybe drugs, what happened?
They are suicide, and suicide is an aftermath of being mentally unhealthy. So that's a clear definition that we are mentally unhealthy out here. Because given that Kenya, a country, we are losing tertiary institutions, campuses, colleges are supposed to be places where actually people go to make their lives, but it's so sad that it's taking people's lives.
Yeah. So is it something that one is born with sometimes, or does it grow over time? Somebody actually asked me, because maybe my grandfather was suicidal, and then and I'm also suicidal. Is it something that is passed from one generation to another? Is actually mental illness passed from one generation to another?
Yeah, mental illness has their factors. It's actually an interplay of very many factors, and genetics is one of them. So if my mom or my dad has bipolar, I have a 50% risk of getting bipolar in the future. And that's all about it. And it also has environmental factors that predispose you. There are biological factors, I've said genetics. There are behavioral factors. There are a lot of things that actually, it's a multifaceted approach to destigmatize mental health. We actually have to to look at all aspects of mental health. If it's behavior that is predisposing Victor to be mentally unhealthy, to have a certain mental disorder in life later, then I'll need to be educated and learn how I'll change to that. If I have poor coping mechanisms to certain things, I'll need to learn how to cope. And sometimes people say that mental health is a science by the fact that people study it in school as psychologists. But sometimes I also say it's also an art that you must learn over time, and you must perfect the skills over time. Because the biggest way to cope with mental health illnesses is in oneself. And that's the work, the biggest part of a psychologist's job. They can confirm, because the psychologist, if I have poor coping mechanisms, his or her work, their work is to enable me take the steps to move me from these poor coping mechanisms to have better coping mechanisms. It's just a bridge. So if you can master the art of changing within yourself, it will be hard, and it takes time. You can do it.
Yeah, exactly. So what percentage is there that, when I have anxiety, that one day, or if I take the necessary precautions, that I'll go back to normal? Does it come to an end, or does it recur, or does it not come to an end?
Mental well-being, it's a journey. You walk, if you are dealing it with self, maybe, for example, as you asked earlier, how can we destigmatize mental health, or how can we ourselves improve our mental well-being? We can read self-help books. We can see a therapist. But to the current question, our mental well-being it's a journey. You have to walk with your therapist, or if you're reading those self-help books, you have to read them again, you have to read about something else. If it's about anxiety and you're seated here with your therapist, you walk today, you achieve one thing. If you are fidgeting while talking, if you are so anxious and you are trembling wherever you are in a social occasion, tomorrow you have another coping mechanism. Tomorrow you have another coping. Next week you have another one. So it's a journey. It cannot just happen abruptly. Yes.
Exactly. So then of course let's not forget that we have to accept you have to accept that you have a problem. First of all, there is no way you're going to be helped if you have mental health issues and you have not accepted yourself. It is something that you need to accept first, so that you are able to be helped. If you say me agree that I'm suffering from depression, so if you accept yourself, that's one journey to recovery, right? All right, so let's look at the role of the government when it comes to fighting mental health, or fighting stigmatization of mental health. What is the government doing to stop stigmatization of mental health? Because we know what suffer. People don't want to come out because they're like, if I tell people that I have depression, if I tell people that I think I'm having symptoms of bipolar, they are going to stigmatize me. But what is the government doing about it? Because that mental health illness is becoming a major issue in Kenya, and not only Kenya, all over the world. So what is the role of the government in fighting stigmatization of mental health, Victor?
All I would say is the one thing that currently I as a person would love equal like a policy is stigma to be taken like any other form of in terms of violation of right. Like it's equal like racism. The way when you're told you're racist, it's a real issue. So stigma can be, if there can be policies, and actually the implementation of easy rights as mental health as a human right equal more easy policies like zitiliwe ile nini inakuanga nayo. So like they are not taken seriously as they are supposed to be taken. And mental health is a real deal. If you are mentally healthy as a country, kila kitu itaenda sawa, because people will be able to connect, to make the right choices, to cope with with them have good coping mechanism. So these initially it lead to the low suicide rates, hizo vitu zote, and actually people will be able to be productive because another aftermath of a mental illness is you're not able to be as productive as you are.
Yeah.
Even if you try, there is usually kunitanga hizo vitu tunaisemanga mind blocks, because there is another thing you're fighting with. I believe as a country hatuwezi endelea with these increasing rates of suicide, and it was so sad that even medical students, teachers, students doing teaching, you find they actually the majority of people who had the suicide who took their own lives. Because I mean, why would the medical student take their own life? And
Yeah,
they're supposed to actually have the knowledge, most of the knowledge about. So that's a question. What are we actually doing as a country?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's so if you go sit down and think about it, you'll actually see there's a problem, and it's a big problem. And we think like tuko far, but we are nowhere. When it comes to mental health, we have not taken any steps. We are far behind, and we are so far behind.
Yeah, we're so far behind because I don't think, in the past, I don't know about the ancient life, but I think mental health has popped up in the modern world because, okay, maybe if there was mental health in the past, how are these people dealing with it? Because it's not normal to hear your mother has killed all her children, or was it like culture regulating the people in the past, or what was happening that nowadays we are having these issues of mental health, weird cases happening? But then in the past, I'm pretty sure that you couldn't hear ati shosho ya nani sijui aliwa nani, or were they there really? What is so different now today?
Okay, thank you. First, okay, let me first say that for the government, the role of the government in mental health destigmatization. The government should come up with a plan of creating support group, like we have the NAMI, which offer local programs and internet facilities that campaigns for destigmatization. So the government must play a role to create forums that will and support groups that will campaign for destigmatization of mental health. Then to your question, what is happening nowadays? Because times like you could not hear of such.
Kama zilikuwa, I don't know.
Yeah, what the emerging trend is that is something that we call radicalization. Radicalization is that I can change the nature of how you act and how you do things. Radicalization, let's say, it is now in us, the generation that we have, that an addition and say how I act and how I think. So I can do anything that is shocking. Now imagine I should doing that right now.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that. So what in a Sumbo is something that you call radicalism. Yeah. And you really need to fight radicalism.
Oh, okay, radicalism. Oh, that's a new term.
Radicalization.
Radicalization. Let's hear.
What is the government doing? Actually, they're doing something.
Okay.
A month ago, apart from the licensing board of the mental health advocates, the psychologists, as you practice as a psychologist, you have to be licensed.
Yeah.
So apart from that board, a month ago, they had another board formed. So this board is going to foresee the employment of psychologists in schools, in these institutions, and they are going to improve the mental health. Actually, they are doing something. The government is doing something about it, and I hope they succeed in it.
Okay. All right. Then we have heard about various forums that the government is, creating and also encouraging, especially the young people, to advocate for mental health wellness. And of course, this is one of the forums happening right here at Showtime Cinema. And it is only 100 shillings. You come and listen, open up. If you're going through anything, this is one of the forums. As you can see, we have professionals here. We have Dabs Africa. We have Kiambati Foundation Group. Very knowledgeable, and all you have to do is just come here and of course watch our mental health shows, so that you're able to help even other people out there. Then of course let us look at, and of course we have sorry, my director is telling me that I have a few minutes, but of course, sorry. Oh, okay. My director is telling me to take a short break. There's so much more that we will discuss after the break. So thank you guys for sticking around, and don't forget to subscribe and share. I will see you after the break. Hey, we are talking about destigmatization of mental health, and we have discussed various issues, and now this is the time where we are going to open up where members, we have a few members of the Kiambati Foundation group who have joined us right now, and we are in the session where we open up about our experiences, because we know that this talk, this show is all about, you know, relieving or letting out what you have been going through, so that you go by, and that the mental and wellness that you're going through is going to be lighter, is going to go. So right now we are going to have the open session where people are going to tell us about their real life experiences. Maybe somebody in the audience who wants to share about their experience about the stigmatization of mental health. Somebody in the audience, maybe you can raise your hand up. Yes, thank you so much, Joe. Karibu.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have a long story about mental health. Okay, I was this kind of a guy that, okay, venye nimelewa, my dad is so strict. Even now when I go home, he's so strict. So I could be that young man, ametulia hapo, hana story mingi. But when I was out there, I was jumpy hapa kuruka huko, mdomo mingi, kupayuka. So once nikaenda high school, I joined high school. My high school life was not easy. Because the mental health, as in the mental, I had a bipolar disorder. So I would be caught in many of the mistakes in school, because venye nimezoea kukaa home, nimezoea kutulia. So when I'm out there, I meet friends. I could be jumpy, doing things that are not allowed by the school. So, and when I came back home, narudi tu pale tu kujikunja, and then I stayed like siongei. So I was in this life that nikifika home siongei na mtu. You know, this is a mental disorder. But when I'm out there, I'm jumpy. Yeah. So nikikuja home, nakaa nimetulia. Wengine wakikuja, wengine wakienda kucheza, I'm there because I'm fearing my dad, you know, he's strict. So tuko naenda form is a time that before tukue wazee. So singeenda form, mabishti zangu wakienda form, niko hapo. So at sometimes nika develop like stress. So I went to hospital, and then diagnosed ulcers. Why? Because mimi nikiwa home, okay, my mom was there. I was my advocacy. So angenitetea. Even my dad akitaka kunifinilia, angenifinyilia tu, because I have no say. Ni yeye tu yule simba. Unaelewa? So that's all. It affected me. But when you grow up, you know you are right. You know you are right. You have the right to express yourself, yeah. And you have the right to freedom. But using the freedom at the right way. So nikijua right zangu, I was able to cope with stigma, the mental health. I could join and that's why I came up with the Kiambati Foundation, so that I can campaign for the stigmatization of people. Right. Yeah, okay. That's my story. Short one, short long.
Clap for him. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's so brave of you to share your story with us. And of course, maybe there are people who are we are going through the same situation out there. For me as a high school teacher, I still have high school students who you hear at home they're very cool, but in school they're always caught with mistakes and everything. They're always in the wrong. So you find sometimes teachers will be like, what's wrong with this boy? So I came to realize that sometimes students, especially teenagers or young people, go through a lot, especially when they have a background where the parents are really strict. So maybe Victor, you can address maybe how we can help such people out there. We know that he knew his rights and he came up with the foundation, but now we know we have not helped dad. Yeah, did you maybe know what was the problem with dad? Why was he so strict? Was he his nature? Or maybe Victor, maybe you can maybe help us with that.
The only cure for stigma is facts. That's all I say. That's the only cure for stigma. The only stigma is facts, and the only way to get facts is by education. That's the only way to get facts. So if we create more awareness programs, even as a country, and I would love mental health ifike place ichukuliwe like the awareness za prostate cancer ama za breast cancer, like all those screening programs, like kukonge na awareness for mental health, because it's so important. It's so important. Sure. And when you meet people who are willing to share their stories and tell you about their conditions, even the way they are currently and their coping mechanisms, we realize that we need to do something about it. And it's more common than we think it is, because there was this statistics like your depression, wasema 1 in every 4 is suffering from depression. And we say that every person in their life has ever been, if they are not currently in a mental health disorder, they don't have a mental health disorder, they have ever experienced a mental health disorder. And that doesn't mean that it puts them at a lesser risk. That doesn't mean that it puts them at a lesser risk of developing a mental health disorder. It actually puts them at more risks of. So if you don't realize that the only way is through facts and through education, you'll still utakaa hapo, you think you know it all when it comes to these issues. And actually you know nothing, and that's what I say. We all know nothing about. You'll meet my fellow colleagues, the psychologists, people who actually have knowledge on mental health, and you realize you actually have peanuts knowledge.
Sure.
And it's that's puts you in like, what are we doing as a country? Yes, Dubs Africa, we are doing the most to create awareness. Maybe Kiambati Foundation is doing their part, but that's not enough. We need to do a lot. And actually the people who are actually stigmatizing mental health, they actually not young people, I would say. Yes, young people within themselves, there are some who are actually stigmatizing, but actually maybe our own parents.
Actually, that was my next thing to ask.
So what happens is, the only way is to actually create programs. Actually, the kids are at home currently, and as parents, we should know that we are kids, and if they are teenagers, they are teenagers. Teenagers will be teenagers. So, and we need to learn, and parents need to learn how to deal with life. As much as we are taught, we teach our kids how to cope with the economic crisis, financial freedom. As parents, we should be taught on how to cope with the developmental stages of our children. Because from one stage to another, it's a step. And it's a step you must take with this child. As Ezra said it, mental health is actually, to achieve mental health is actually a process. The same way. And if I'm a teenager and you don't give me that space to be a teenager rightfully and in a safe way, I'll tend to be a teenager in the unrightfully and in the ways that are not actually right, just to prove myself that I fit in. It will actually be a problem for me in the future. Either I'll have problems fitting in with my friends, I'll have problems coping with certain challenges because I wasn't a teenager. That's actually a reason why parents should, as a parent, just take time, learn, take these books, learn, go to YouTube, learn. Sometimes wanasemanga ati unadhani si hatukupitia hapo, is that yes ulipitia, but that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, sure.
Modern age, modern problems.
Yeah.
So that you should keep updated, keep yourself updated, know your child. That's the only, actually unajua watoto wa siku hizi, they actually better because they actually can talk.
Yeah.
Ukiwaonyesha you are willing to talk, they'll actually tell you what's actually going on and how they feel about certain things and how they would love certain things done. They actually they want to cool kids, and they actually cool kids. And that's something I'd love to encourage parents out there. Hii holiday 10 weeks, just get to know your kid, because the problem you meet is because hadi saa hii in campus unapatanga wasee anakwambia mimi na my dad we talk less than 2 words.
Yeah.
Because mimi hata sijui nimwambie, ajui life yangu, anijui. Ama unapata like I went to boarding school, the only person I've been close with my friends, so that's a bad thing, and that's something as parents
we need to check on.
Yeah.
All right, then we know that millennials, Gen Z, and of course the Alpha generation, which is I think the youngest generation, we are the ones who are outspoken, but then we have our parents who are, well, some of them wako huku analog. They don't know that there are such issues like mental health. They think that it's normal to beat up a child, like, you know, unatoa stress na mtoto, unamuita ng'ombe, unamuita all the words that you have in your head, but you don't know what exactly you're doing to this child. So it is good that also the government also ensures that, especially in the rural areas, they are talked, you know, kuna watu wanapelekwa huko, they talk to them about mental health. You're told, you know, as a parent, this is how you're supposed to handle your teenager. A teenager, this is how a teenager should behave normally, this is how a child should behave normally, and this is how as a parent you should deal with a child like this. Because hey maze, our paros and our shoshos, they used to beat us like crazy, but now they don't know the impact that, you know, it has brought to us as individuals. And of course, when it comes to disciplining your child as a parent, it is good to know that it is your responsibility to discipline your child, but how should you behave? How should you handle that discipline? Should you be like really strict? Should you, like, you know, intimidate your child so that they fear you? Remember that your child is not supposed to fear you. Your child is supposed to come to you as your child and also as your friend. So let us have maybe any other person who has a story to tell, an experience, so that we wind up the show. Yes, you do. Karibu sana. Introduce yourself and tell us your story.
Thank you. I'm Liz from Kebati Foundation. My story is from high school.
Yes.
Na nikamaliza high school. Nikiwa high school, nilimaliza the first high school when 2019. Ukafika mahali nikaambiwa nirudie shule. So by my brother. Ilifika mahali juu sikuwa nataka, unaona ni ile kind of unafosiwa.
Yeah.
So nikarudia high school. This is my story. From 2016 to 2019, I was in high school. So na mimi ni ule mtu mwenye I don't talk when I have issues, because kwenye nimelelewa my parents are so tough. Mostly my mom, uwezi mwambia kitu, you go to talk, ako zile za anakugombanisha, anaweza kuambia anything in front of anyone, uko kwa shamba, uko market, uko where, anaweza kuambia anything. So I'm such kind of a person, I don't talk. So ni ile you just let it, na uwezi gombanisha mzazi, so inabidi unyamaze. So when I did my KCSE on 2019, kukasemekana, because I wanted to do medicine, kukasemekana nirudie. So my brother is like ile ya kufosiwa, and you can't say anything. So when I repeated high school, day school 2020, corona ikakuja, umerudi shule for 2 weeks, corona imekuja, so uko imebidi mkae 1 year nje. So I was so depressed, na pia niliona kama ni stress zilikuwa zinataka kunishika, because for one I was so frustrated, 2 umeambiwa ufanye kitu yenye huko unataka na uwezi sema na uwezi ongea. So venye turudi shule tena 2021, ilifika to a certain point that nilikuwa naenda shule nilikuwa nimebeba nguo za nyumbani. Unaenda shule juu utaki sasa the villagers waanze kusema ulikuwa na venye kupelekwa day boarding school, you went there just to do nothing. So sikuwa nataka ile embarrassment. So nilikuwa naenda shule, nikirudi na vango za nyumbani juu sitaki watu wajue nimetoka wapi. Then ikafika mahali ni kama nilikuwa na feel aibu, like my friends wako campus, ndio huyo, so many things around me. So nilikuja ku notice that kuna kitu inanishika, like mental health inakuja kunisumbua wakati when I have friends. Nilikuwa nakasirika, nilikuwa nataka kukaa peke yangu, naenda kwa nyumba najifungia. Nikienda mahali tukipatana na marafiki wakicheka naona wananichekelea. Nikienda kanisa naenda narudi kwa nyumba is like unalia tu. So ilifika mahali my patron wa youth akaona kuna kitu inanisumbua juu nilianza kubehave weird, like kuna behave kama si wewe. So ndio akaniita akaniuliza ni nini, ndio sasa nikamwambia. So akasema akuja ongeleshe mzazi wangu, my mom. I was like oh no, usiende kuambia mom juu ukienda kumwambia mimi nitatoroka. So ikafika mahali sasa wakaanza kuniambia ama niache kuenda shule, niende niseme what is chenye kinanisumbua. So hiyo kitu ilinisumbua sana. Ikafika mahali nikaanza kufikiria naweza toroka. Sasa niko zile za unatoroka uende wapi? So you have kuna stress, you are depression, hakuna mtu unaweza ambia. So to come out in that situation, ilifika mahali sasa nikaanza kuitiwa guidance and counseling, watu wa kuniongelesha. So wanaanza kukuambia maybe ukienda shule we soma, usifikirie venye watu wanakuambia, mara utaachieve what you want. Place yenye tumefika, tumepitia mengi nyumbani, don't worry about your parent. And I was like oh no. Sasa ikafika mahali hadi nikawa naogopa kurudi nyumbani. Juu sasa unaenda nyumbani uko na stress, ukienda shule ni stress pia. But I thank God niliongeleshwa nikasikia. Uzuri mimi ukiniongelesha nitasikia. So I started growing na my self esteem venye ilikuwa imeenda chini, at least nikaanza cope up with it. I thank God si kutoroka na bado stress zikunishika venye naweza lazwa hospitali. Yeah.
Alright, so let's clap for her again. That is so brave. Yes, when you have people coming out with stories and telling their stories, it's very, very encouraging, because one way of letting go of that mental health issue is by coming out. Talk about your issues. Be open about everything that you're going through. And as you have heard, she said that she accepted it and she was able to talk about it. So maybe we can have Joe, or we can have nani amenyamaza sana huyu. Maybe you can address maybe what can you tell somebody who's undergoing the same issue as she.
What I could tell someone who's going through the same issue is that see someone who you can work with. Find a mentor and believe in yourself. Yes, you feel low, but by the end of the day, it's you. You're confined in you, and through you, you're going to come out being the best. So find someone who you look at and see the person in you. If, as she said, she wanted to be a medic, and repeating made her to have a low self-esteem. Look at that person you wanted to be. Look at them and see yourself in them, and grow courage from that. Yes, and move forward.
All right. So generally that's it, and of course you have other members of the Kiambati Foundation you have just joined in. Maybe they can introduce themselves, and of course, as I said earlier, we are going to be having them officially joining us for our next shows, and of course we'll also be having Dubs Africa also joining us for our shows. So maybe you can have our members maybe introducing themselves. Naona mengia watatu, sijui kama nyi wote ni wa Kiambati Foundation. Okay, so introduce yourself if you're from the Kiambati Foundation, kindly karibu, and maybe you can make a comment.
So good evening, I'm John Degwa from Kiambati Foundation, and I'm happy to see you people who are coming up with plans how you can help this generation. Yani, though we are, even as we are trying to help those who are in need, and also we need help so that we can be in a position to improve even our lives, because maybe some of us have got some siblings who are being treated in the same way, and they are passing through hardships and those wanapitia tu hali ngumu. Even me, I could have shared a story, but I will just have bit of it.
Okay.
I just passed through a hard time throughout almost from class 4. My mom was that harsh mom who hangetaka kuona hadi ukitembea na mabeshte. Anaona ukitembea na mtu anasema wewe umeanza kuvuta bangi sasa. So alikuwa anataka hadi yenye nikitoka shule anataka kusikia nimekimbia kwa nyumba mbio. So ilikuwa nilikuwa na hard time kabisa, juu nilikuwa hadi na neighbor fulani mtu tulikuwa tunasoma na yeye. So yeye akifika mbele yangu, by that time nilikuwa hapo stand 8, hapo 7-8, akifika mbele yangu anasema ameniacha nyuma, nakuja na wasichana tu pole, na maybe nilikuwa nimeachwa na story maybe za tulikuwa tuna have service kwa shule. Yeah. Maybe ameniacha service, so anakimbia anapitia hapo kwetu, anaenda anasema ameniacha nikikuja na tusichana. Na mimi napokea ile kichapo inaambiango. Then ikafika place hadi tukakosana na my little mom. Sasa nikaenda hadi nikaongea na my pastor, because we were just social, and aka-advise my mom. Life imekuwa hivyo, but all in all life sasa imekuwa poa. My mom sasa akakuja kukubali, akakuja kuelewa I'm a grown up now. But also I could like to put this in people's mind. Kama mzazi, you should have that huyu kijana ama msichana anafaa kuwa na ile ka freedom, hata anafaa kuenda kucheza na mabeshte wake. Sasa hadi hakuna mtu kijana angepita kwetu juu na nitaachwa nikiulizwa, na huyo mlijuania wapi, anapita kaa nani huko. So what I would like to advise even our parents, ukiwa hapo chunga tu mtoto wako, lakini usimfungie ile sana, juu ukimfungia sana ndo unapata wamepata freedom ya kutoka nje, wanakuwa tu anything. Mtu tu unapata amejiingiza kwa hizo drugs ulimwambia alitumia, na maybe she was not using the drugs. Unapata huyu mtu ameanza kuenda na kujiunganisha na kampani mbaya, maybe ulimzuia hadi kuenda kaa church hivi, ati ndivyo asiende kumit na mayouth huko ama watu wa maharibu. So unapata unajiwekelea shida ingine juu ya shida ingine. So all I have is that we will share more later. Mbarikiwe sana.
Amen. Thank you so much. Clap for him. Thank you so much for your story.
Yes, my name is Dan William. Nimefurahia sana kuwa hapa siku ya leo, na imenisaidia sana kujua vitu mingi. Mimi natoka, I'm from Kiambati. Wazazi nile life. Mimi, my father is harsh, my mother is somehow akopoa, lakini anafuata ile story tu, baba akisema hivi yeye anafuatilia, anataka ikue hivyo. Sasa
sawa unaweza anza tu kwa session.
Uje kuinteract.
Anapokuwa audible short kidogo.
Sijui kuinteract na watu, kuinteract na watu. Kazi ni kukaa home na hakuna kitu unafanya. Wanakuambia kaa usome, sijui ufanye kazi za nyumba, ufanye kazi hizi, lakini usitoke kwa gate, ukae tu kwa nyumba na usiwatch TV. Walikuwa wamelock kwa kabati. Sasa kazi yani unasoma, unaota jua, hakuna kitu unafanya. Ukitoka nje unapata watu ni magroups, watu tu wengine huko wanatembea na mabeshte. Sasa una feel that guilt. Mbona uko hivyo, hauna beshte, hauna rafiki. Ukiwa shule yani sasa juu umezoea kukaa home, hadi sasa ukienda shule hauna hiyo courage, uko na fear ya kuinteract na mtu mjuane vizuri. Nikaendelea hivyo mpaka ilini affect, by the way ilini affect sana. Class 8 hadi nikafail, nikaanguka, lakini nilijoin high school. Kujoin high school sasa nikapata mentors, mabeshte zangu wazuri. Sasa nikiwa high school walikuwa wananiment, but sasa ile uoga niko nayo high school, nikikuwa shule na nikiwa shule naongea na watu, lakini nikifika home nakuwa tu nimenyamaza, siongei na mtu. Hadi sina nguvu ya kuongea na mzazi, hadi ndugu yangu mwenyewe namuogopa kila mtu tu yani. But at some time ilifika huyo mentor nilipata, rafiki yangu akanisaidia tu, akaniambia wewe jaribu kuongea na mzazi, hadi uongee na madhe ama uongee na ndugu yako. Kama unaogopa babako, at least uongee na wengine. Nikaenda nika-approach madhe, nika-approach ndugu yangu, akanisikia, lakini sasa bado kuna ile uoga niko nayo ya mzazi, siwezi muongelesha. But hiyo situation ilienda hivyo, stress nilikuwa nayo. Sasa unaona hadi nikiwa sasa when nimefail for class 8 niko na stress form 1, somi vizuri. But after some time nikakuwa vizuri, kanisaidia. Na najua si mimi peke yangu napitia hiyo, watu wengi tu wampitia huko nje, wengi sana. Na watu wengi sana wanahitaji kujua vitu, ways za kusaidika na hii maisha, na itakuwa poa. Asanteni.
Alright, let's clap for him. Amazing stories hapo hivi. Watu wa now there is a problem, Victor. Our parents, yani tukiangalia millennials, generation Z na alpha, we need to address parenthood. How are we supposed to behave as parents towards our children? Because as you can see, most of the mental health issues that have come with children, and of course with generations that follow, from parents. Does it mean that our parents also went through issues?
Okay. Yeah, kutoka kwa hizo story there is a problem. And well, parents can be the problems. Yeah. And they also can be the ones who have problems still. So it's an interplay of very many factors that need to be addressed about parents. It's a big topic. It's a very big topic that needs to be addressed. But one thing that I would love to encourage is, as I said earlier, it's just facts. Parents should learn to learn. The way mtoto anagrow na learn new things. Leo as a child, ever your mom, leo mtoto akakwambianga my favorite color is blue, kesho my favorite color is purple. Leo alikuwa anapenda kucheza, alikuwa kwambia my hobby is swimming, kesho akwambia my hobby is football. That was so fast. So like you should learn to grow with your child. That's what is called parenting, I believe. Because if you are a parent and you have an 8-year-old child and don't expect to act like you, at the same level, it can never happen. This child is growing. There are developmental stages where ushafika max. If ujafika max yako, it's not as fast as yake. so you should just come down, be at the same level, grow. And utakuja kuelewa this is what my child wants, because yes, it's inaweza kuwa hard kuwageuza cause I mean wamezoea, but as the new incoming parents we should learn to do that, because we are the one, I believe there is a societal, kuna kuanga na societal gap between them and us, between those parents wa huko ma 1940s, most of our parents and this generation, the millennials, Gen Z and the Alpha. There is a societal gap, and that's the even though that gap is actually the where the most problems are, because our parents don't understand that we are the modern generation. They wako analog kidogo, and they need to update the systems. So modern problems comes with modern solutions, so they need to find modern solution to the modern problems, and we have the modern problems. So if they come and have the past ways of coping with their mama, dealing with them, then we will suffer, and we'll suffer big time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is true. I think we should have a topic on parenthood and mental health. Yeah, and maybe in a panel we can have a parent, isn't it? From previous generation. Of course, you can also have a person in maybe the millennial, or especially the generation Z. Nyinyi ndio tunategemea nyinyi mtuongelele. Sisi the millennials, we are outgoing but you're not outspoken. But for your generation Z, you're the ones who are going to speak for us, and it's good that nowadays young people are able to talk, to speak out. And of course our parents, please pay attention, please, let's pay attention. So that has been our time. Thank you so much, Dabs Africa, and of course Kiambati, our foundation, who have joined us today. I hope you have had a wonderful session, and of course you have gotten to learn. Today our topic was destigmatization of mental health. Let us be open about talking about mental health, because it should not be stigmatized at all. Somebody comes to you and tells you, I have anxiety, I have depression, I have, my parent has the bipolar. How are you supposed to deal with such issues? So let us not stigmatize mental health. This, as Victor has said, it should be treated just like racism, tribalism. How we treat such kind of issues, stigmatization of mental health should also be at the top notch there, and we should also address issues that come about with stigmatization of mental health. Once again, thank you so much for also being an awesome audience. I have been your host, Washere Konyo. We are located at Pumpkin House, 4th floor. This is Showtime Cinema. Come to this forum. Let us open up. Let us talk about mental health issues. And of course, don't forget that on that floor we have Showtime Studios, where you take the best photography in Nyeri, in Kenya. Come get your photo here. And of course, don't forget to also promote even other photographers out there. Let us make Nyeri big, and let us speak about mental health. I have been your host, Washirage Konyo. Thank you so much. I will see you on the next one. Have a nice weekend, and also a nice week.